Reggie Bush, just inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame during the National Football Foundation dinner in Las Vegas last month. And Reggie joining us on the program. Before we get to Reggie, let's play the Reggie Bush game, the favorite NFL team he had when he was growing up. Todd, I'll start with you.
I'm going to say the Raiders.
Okay. Seton.
Man, Raiders is a good guess.
I know, I agree.
I'm going to say the Raiders.
All right, Marvin.
I'm going to say the Chargers.
Okay. All right, local team. All right, Paulie.
It's got to be the Chargers.
I'm going to go Raiders. Let's bring in Reggie Bush to play the Reggie Bush game. Your favorite team growing up was?
It was the Chargers, man. San Diego Chargers.
Okay. Who was your favorite running back growing up?
Barry Sanders. He was a guy that I wanted to emulate my game after. He's a guy that I fell in love with. He is a guy that really, I felt like introduced me to the game of football. He was the first person that really just captivated me when I watched him on the screen.
But is that something you can learn, the way Barry ran?
Yeah, it is. I think if, obviously it takes a lot of hard work, dedication. But, the way that Barry moved, to me, it was pure artwork, and it was, there was a lot of, built-in instincts as well into it. And a lot of that plays into your vision. And so, I think there are different drills and things that you can work on with young kids as far as working on their vision, how to use your peripheral vision, how to see things, how to set things up. And then you have to work on the quick feet as well. And so I think there is, that you can get to, the level of what, Barry Sanders was. It's obviously going to take a lot of hard work, dedication, and there's only one true Barry. But, yeah, you can definitely get there.
What was it like when you met him?
Oh, man, it was full circle moment for me. He's such a humble guy. And I think I remember meeting him. I wasn't even drafted yet. I was actually about to get drafted, and I was in Detroit. You remember when the Super Bowl was in Detroit? And I was out there for the Super Bowl. And that's when I met Barry Sanders for the first time. And I was just overwhelmed. It was a full circle moment. I couldn't believe I was meeting my idol, the guy that I just always wanted to pattern my game after. And he was so humble, And a lot of times people talk about when you meet your heroes, they don't always live up to that. Barry lived up to it.
How big of celebrities were you guys at USC in that moment?
I would say we were very big. When you look at we can talk about just the sidelines alone, right? Every celebrity, would come out to our games. Snoop Dogg was always there. Will Ferrell was there. Shaq was there sometimes. And it was awesome, man. We were on that football field, in that stadium, we felt like gladiators. And, that was the arena that, we love to compete in. And every game was sold out, 96,000 people.
What's the most surreal moment you had when you played there?
I had a lot of them. It's hard to choose one because there were a lot of games that I look back on that I can't believe it happened. I think one that sticks out is the Notre Dame game. We played in Notre Dame, winning that game in the last second, what is being dubbed as the Bush push. But it was awesome to go through that experience, with my brothers, with my teammates, with the coaches, playing for the fans. And then also at home, I think some of my memorable games were playing against UCLA because that was always our last game of the season. There's always a crosstown rivalry, and we always wanted to make sure that we saved a little bit up just for UCLA so that we always have bragging rights that we owned LA, so many memories, when I think about my time at USC, and I'm just so appreciative that I stopped through there.
Well, I didn't know if the NFL was a letdown after playing at USC.
I'll tell you what, when I got to
but
New Orleans,
fame-wise, you were more famous in college than you were in the NFL.
Well, I'll say this: when I got to New Orleans, there was an explosion, of just the fan base welcoming me with open arms. Because you got to also remember, this is 5 months after Hurricane Katrina, and so me coming to the city of New Orleans was a very big deal. because one, the team hadn't been good in years.
Mm.
And if you remember, they were called the Aints. You know, people will refer to them as the Aints, and fans would show up to the games with paper bags over their heads, and the team, you know, I believe they had lost every game the year before. So, you know, me coming to New Orleans was a very big deal. And it was one of my favorite moments. You talk about a surreal moment. That was a surreal moment, me going to New Orleans, because I was supposed to be the number one draft pick. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Mario
taking it
Williams.
back down, Mario Williams ended up being the number one draft pick. I actually found out the same way everybody else found out. I found out on SportsCenter.
Was it because he was signable? Like that was the report at the time.
No. You want to know the truth?
Yeah.
The truth is with Charlie Casserly. And, you know, he hasn't talked about it. You know, we've actually had an opportunity to discuss it when I was working for NFL Network, because one of the executives found out the truth. And I hadn't even known the truth yet about why I didn't go to Houston. And apparently it was because they hired a private investigator to investigate me during the Heisman Trophy debacle that was happening at that time. An investigator came back and said that I was a bad guy, had bad character, I was a street kid, and that they shouldn't sign me, they shouldn't draft me. And so this is a story I'm getting from one of the executives at NFL Network. And so, you know, they wanted to do this one-on-one with me and Charlie Casserly and just kind of talk about it. And at first, Casserly said, yeah, and then he ended up backing out because, you know, I think he understood it probably, you know, wasn't going to look great for him. So, you know.
So Charlie was the longtime GM of the then Washington Redskins. Then he became a GM of the Texans. So they had the chance to take you number one. We're talking to Reggie Bush. How will you sum up your college career talking to your kids?
Awesome. Amazing. One of my favorite stops. College is the place where I learned so much about myself. I became a man. I had to overcome things. I had to compete. I had to, you know, compete for the role that I ended up, you know, immersing myself in as, you know, starting running back and punt returner and catching the ball out of the backfield and all those different things. And so I had to work to get there. And I was also surrounded by amazing talent. I was also surrounded by great coaching. And, you know, that's one of the things that also helped elevate my game as well, is every time we stepped on that practice field, we felt like it was, you know, it was, the competition level was always at its highest. It was just straight competition, you know what I'm saying? And from the time that the whistle was blown, we always started practice with 9-on-7. I hated 9-on-7 because it was like the defense is, you're not throwing the football 9-on-7, you know, practice period. It's just a run. It's just a run period. It's the run. You're literally only running the ball, and the defense knows you can't throw it, you know? And so every linebacker is sprinting full speed downhill as soon as the ball is hiked in. It's like running into a brick wall. But that's what we did to get our practices started during the week, you know, as we prepared for Notre Dame, as we prepared for UCLA. And as much as we hated it, it also made us stronger. And it also helped us to develop the chemistry and the bond that we needed so that we can go and win some of these tough games.
Reggie inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame during the National Football Foundation dinner in Las Vegas last month. I agree with your point about Nick Saban. If you'll paraphrase that for the audience, that the reason why you think, or at least one of the reasons why Nick Saban is stepping down is because?
It's because of NIL. And if anybody's been paying attention and they've been listening to Nick Saban's, you know, speeches or interviews that he's been doing at some of these different conferences, and I don't know where he's at when he's, you know, speaking to, you know, some of these people, but there was a point to where he was complaining about other universities paying players. He was complaining about Jimbo Fisher paying players. He complained about Deion Sanders supposedly paying, you know, 5-star players. And it was, you know, I honestly felt like at one point I didn't understand it, because on one side you're looking at, this is supposed to be one of the greatest coaches ever in the history of college football, and here he is complaining after he just won 5-6 national championships. You know, so I didn't understand that mindset of, what are you complaining about? You're at the top. You are the pinnacle. People want to be you. And yet here you are complaining because the playing field is now starting to level itself out. And that's what people have to understand with NIL. That's what's happening. There's a movement that's happening, and the movement is the power is going back into the hands of the players. And that's something that has never existed in college football or collegiate sports because it's been built off of amateurism, right? And we know that it's not true. It's not truly amateurism because there's big money. This is big money business when we talk about college football and when we talk about college basketball. It's big money. It's a big business.
Is Deion Sanders, what he's doing at Colorado, sustainable?
What do you mean? Like, what part of is it sustainable? Because right now, winning, 5-6 games a year, I think is sustainable. I think if you're talking about winning a national championship, that's a much tougher subject and question because they just got to start getting better recruits. They got to start getting 5-star players. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. You can find, here and there sometimes some 3-star guys, maybe a 2-star guy here and there and turn them into a 4-star, player. But at the end of the day, to be able to win and to stay on the top, you need to be able to get those 5-star recruits. You got to be able to get those 5-star players. And so he has that position. He has the most important question answer, which is the quarterback position right now with his son. After that, he's got to go find some guys, after his son leaves. Because I think after this year, his son's probably going to be gone. But he's got to start getting better, better players. And that's where it's tough because at the end of the day, now you look at the Pac-12 is gone. I apologize. I don't even know where's Colorado going now? What conference are they going to?
They're in the Big 12?
They're going into the Big 12. So
isn't that crazy that we have no idea where, like Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC?
Yeah, I know where they're going.
And you called it the Pac-10 or the Pac-12, and now it's the
Pac-12.
Pac-2, and this is crazy. Crazy.
It's crazy.
It's disappointing. It really is that the grown-ups have allowed this to happen.
Well, it's again, this goes back to the structure of college football and how it operates. And the narrative that the NCAA has been able to create with the amateurism word and being able to really deceive, I think, people into believing that it truly is amateurism because it's truly not amateurism. Again, like I said, it's big money business, and the players are the workhorses. And for so long, the players did not have power up until most recently, until the NCAA was forced by the Supreme Court with the ruling of 9-0 to allow players to monetize off of the thing that they owned from the time that they were born, which is their name, image, and likeness.
You filed a defamation lawsuit against the NCAA. Was that in August?
Yeah.
Explain to me what you're hoping to get out of that.
Listen, the NCAA made a statement about me. That was a lie. They said I was paid to play. And that was never part of the original investigation, alleging that I was paid to play. And so if it's a lie, then it's a lie. And for so long, the NCAA has been able to get away with the narrative that I was paid to play. But that's why it's ironic that the narrative that I was paid to play was first circulated and started by the very people who released a statement about me officially, stating that I was paid to play. And so that's what the lawsuit is over. That's what a defamation of lawsuit ultimately is about when, someone says something about you that's not true, especially if it's public, especially if it's released, to, numerous media outlets, that pick up on it. And it's also, listed as a reason as why I'm not being reinstated or a reason as why, I'm not getting my Heisman Trophy back. And that's a lie.
But what if
again, like I said,
what if they said, drop your lawsuit, we'll restore your collegiate records as a settlement?
It's too late. We way past that.
Okay.
We passed the.
But if they restore your records, then you get the Heisman.
They're going to have to do that anyway. That's going to happen anyway. all that's going to happen anyway, because again, if I don't know if you heard what I said, a lie is a lie, right? And so if it's a lie, then it's going to be exposed, right? We'll find out in this lawsuit. You know what I'm saying? We'll find out who's really telling the truth. And that's what's the most amazing part about it is we've never been able to do this. For so long, I haven't been able to do this, which is, file this lawsuit against the NCAA until they made that statement, And so that's, again, that's what you guys are seeing now for the first time. You're seeing my story, my case being tried in an official way, in the court of law, which is something that the NCAA has never had to do. They never had to prove their case in the court of law.
Great to talk to you. Congratulations going into the College Football Hall of Fame. Good luck with the lawsuit. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Dan.
That's Reggie Bush joining us on the program. He won the Heisman in 2005.